evening, Your Honour, and sorry for the delay.
That's alright. You might want to speak up, please, sir.
Can you hear me now, sir?
Yes, I can. Alright, I'm just going to quickly check everyone's bar licenses before we start. I don't want anyone to be coming to the court case today without a bar license. Prosecution, please approach and show me your identification.
I'll show you my ID, but I'm still a trainee.
You're still a trainee?
That's correct.
Alright.
But there is my identification.
Mr. Price. Ah, yes, excellent. Alright, no problem, thank you. Defence, if you might approach and just show me your ID. Actually, Mr. Cook, I know you're in the bar because we granted you a license the other day. Is that Mr. Sandstone?
Correct. Yeah.
Excellent. Excellent, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Alright, we're going to proceed now with the prosecution introducing themselves, along with the charge list, please.
No worries, just bear with me one moment.
I'll just attach you to the report. You should be able to see the report now.
Yeah, 1 second. Just give me one moment. I'm not actually clocked in. Just bear with me. Sorry.
Legal aid, man. They're new. Can't blame them. They're still learning.
That's alright.
Sorry, I was not in town, so to speak. I've literally flown in just for this, Your Honour. Please bear with me one moment.
That's alright.
My apologies, Your Honour. My name is Kyle Price. I'll be representing the Santos Police Department as prosecutions. The charges today are 1 count of attempted murder of a vulnerable public servant, 1 charge of reckless evading, and 1 charge of armed robbery.
Alright, very good. Was there a plea deal offered to your knowledge?
Not to my knowledge, Your Honour. As I said, I was not in city. I've just literally flown in as I've been called.
Can the ND officers attend to a plea deal?
I believe those charges are for the wrong client. Shanks Posle was only charged with the robbery. Alonzo Taylor, according to the record, was charged with the armed rob, the attempted murder, and the reckless evading. Alonzo Taylor has already been processed and sent to jail.
Yeah, and we did communicate to his lawyer that we were definitely open to a bit of discount or plea deal.
I see. So it's just 1 count of robbery as per the
Correct.
report.
On this one, yes, correct.
I see.
My apologies.
That's alright. Thank you very much, prosecution. Defence, please step forward. Introduce yourself.
No, you're good.
Thank you, Your Honour. Clapton Cook, Government Attorney. And just under motion to strike all records from my client as well as dismiss this case, as there was a breach of Article 2, Section 5, rights and violations. Evidence attained through the violations of citizens' rights shall be inadmissible in legal proceedings. Upon conversation with both parties and the arresting officers, my client was placed in the back of a police vehicle, which was then engaged into a pursuit and a shootout, placing my client's life at risk, therefore endangering him and breaking their duty of care.
Interesting motion, Mr. Cooks. Let me just give you 1 minute to read up on that one.
Sorry, what was that, Your Honour?
I was saying, give me 1 minute to read up on that one. I'll double check that you're correct. Okay, your motion to strike Mr. Cook is going to be refused at this point in time. However, I am going to note that strike in my rulings of whichever way this this case goes. Does your client plead guilty or not guilty?
Not guilty.
Not guilty. Fantastic. Please take a seat. Prosecution, if you don't mind starting with your opening statement.
Very much so, Your Honour. Though the suspect may have been placed into the back of a vehicle and may have been engaged in the pursuit, the crime of robbery still happened, Your Honour. That's literally what the Los Santos Police Department is arguing today. The other perpetrator or suspect on behalf of Los Santos Police has been charged with the same offence and has been jailed. We believe, well, I would believe, as part of prosecutions and reading the report, that the suspect was involved in the robbery as well. Prosecution arrest at this time.
Right, thank you. Defence, please present your opening statement.
Thank you. Just outside of the rights of my citizen being breached and the risk of his life being put forward, Your Honour, my client does not deny that he was involved. However, he was the first to subdue in the name of the police, and he was the first cuffed and arrested. He did make an attempt to play along with the police, regardless of his co-accuser's actions. Again, there's no specific evidence about who was involved in the robbery. Who committed the robbery, other than the fact that both of them were seen at the scene. There is a claim they were both pulling it out of the wall from the vehicle. However, with my client surrendering from the vehicle, I don't think the use of the negligence of his life and his safety was warranted within this proceeding at all. Thank you.
Right, thank you. All right, so we're going to start with witness examination now. Prosecution, please present your first witness if you have one.
I would like to call Officer TT Tuturangi to the stand, if I may.
Please don't sit in the seat. Unfortunately, if you sit there, we won't be able to hear you.
What
Just
time
stand next to the
Yeah.
podium if you don't mind. All right, officer, do you promise to do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Very good. Please continue.
Turangi, can you please recite the events that took place this afternoon in regards to the arrest?
Yeah. Okay. So we
Sorry,
received.
not to the arrest. Let me rephrase
Yep,
that.
we received an alarm for a attempted robbery of an ATM machine. We attended the scene, saw a vehicle trying to pull a ATM from the wall. We approached them to ask what they're up to, and we were told to fuck off. They continued pulling the ATM out, and when the ATM was pulled from the wall, one suspect jumped out of the car. So I jumped out of the car and went to arrest him. He picked the ATM machine up and tried to get back in his car with the ATM machine. However, I managed to get some cuffs on him as he was moving quite slowly, carrying the ATM machine. From there, his mate in the car pulled a gun on me. My two fellow officers that were behind the car had guns in their hands, so they pointed their guns at him. There was a bit of a discussion, bit of a cry, and etc. Took place, but all guns were dropped. And we tried to get the suspect to get out of the car. He refused to do this and ended up fleeing. So from there, we jumped in the car, pursued him, and went down to the pier. At which point the suspect started shooting at her. So we returned fire to the suspect. At which place the suspect was incapacitated, and from there we took him back to the station, got him some medical treatment, and proceeded to process him.
Mr. Officer Tuturangi, would you perhaps speculate, or sorry, not for speculate, let me rephrase the question. Mr. Tuturangi, would you say that being involved in that scene would put your life at risk?
Oh, 100%. I mean, every day we put our lives at risk. But here you've got two guys, pointed a gun at me, so it's quite clear that they're not playing games. So this guy had to be taken off the street. We can't have people that are just going to go pointing guns at anybody, let alone cops. We can't have them roaming the streets. So it was definitely a priority to make sure that he was removed from the streets.
My final question for you, Mr. Tutorangi, would you say that the perpetrators and or suspects would be putting their own lives at risk by being involved in such a scene?
100%. I mean, the guy we were chasing is well aware that the suspect was in the back of his car, and he opened fire on us. So yeah, like, I don't know, maybe they're not very good mates. I don't know, but he definitely opened fire on us, well aware that we had his mate in the back of our car.
Prosecution's arrest at this time, Your Honour. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Defence, you may cross-examine the witness.
Thank you, Your Honour. Officer T, could you just elaborate for me the time frame between when my client was arrested and the pursuit started?
To find the time he was arrested, I mean, there was a lot going on. He wasn't technically arrested and read his rights until we were back at the station. Yeah.
Sorry, let me rephrase the question. From the time that you placed my client in cuffs and his co-accused took off in the vehicle, how long would you say that time frame roughly was?
Objection, grounds for speculation.
I'll allow it at this point in time only because I'd like to know the approximate time.
I'd say 2 or 3 minutes. I mean, as I say, there was I put him in cuffs and then put him in the back of the vehicle, at which point I had a gun pointed at me immediately. But then there was a lot of, like I say, crying and out of city sort of talk, so to speak, from these two suspects. So that definitely added to the time frame there. So I kind of feel that the time is irrelevant due to things that were being said.
No, understood. Once my client was in the car and the gun was on you, you had other officers there, correct? They obviously backed your life up straight away.
Yeah, they had guns at their side. So when I had a gun pointed at me, then they obviously pointed their guns back at him. They were standing behind the car. Yeah, and that's when the crying started.
Just for the sake of the court and the judge, could you possibly outline police procedure in regards to protection of life, if any procedure exists at all?
Objection. The notion of police procedures is public. Is police property.
That's overruled. It's valid in this case, I believe.
I mean, we get put in these situations more than you'd like to think. And we've sort of got a zero tolerance on gun violence. So we've got to evaluate these situations at the top. When there's 3 officers there, 2 of them armed, I'm comfortable that 2 officers can deal with the situation of one bloke pointing a gun at me. To be honest, standing there, I was hoping that that's exactly what they would do, and that's what they did. They didn't just point and shoot. They just tried to reason with them to bring it the situation. But obviously, a complete different situation outside of the situation sort of took place from there, which made it a very complicated situation overall to sort of stay with it, if you know what I mean.
Understood. So you can confirm there was 3 officers attached to this scene?
Myself and 2 others, correct? Yes.
Correct. Okay. Can I ask, were you all in the one vehicle, or was there multiple vehicles?
We had 2 vehicles.
2 vehicles.
Correct.
Were both vehicles engaged in the police pursuit?
Yes. Yep. So when he took off, I jumped in my vehicle, which the suspect was in the back of, and to be honest, didn't even cross my mind at the time. We'd just been through a situation of trying to be taken hostage, and then we had a guy fleeing, with a gun, which, I mean, the things he'd been doing, like I say, we don't want him roaming the streets with a gun when he's got that kind of temper on it. So my only my only thought at that time, unfortunately, was to get this guy off the streets and in custody with his mate.
Understood. And at any time during the chase, was there pitting or boxing maneuvers attempted?
Objection.
No.
Grounds of speculation.
If
No.
the officer was there, I wouldn't say it would be speculating, so that's overruled.
No, there were no pits. The chase was very short. It pretty much went round the corner to the pier and then started shooting at us. So it would have been a matter of a couple of 100 meters. So it was a very, very short chase.
Understood. And at any time during that period from when you arrived on scene, the gun was pulled and the chase started, did any of the officers call for backup?
Yes, but however, we didn't receive any backup. We're probably short-staffed at the time. There were a lot of crime going on in the city. Unfortunately, that's quite often the situation that we're left in. Sometimes we'll attend, rather large bank robberies, and we'll only have one unit on scene. It's just, unfortunately, staffing levels aren't what we need them to be. But we're just doing the best we can to keep the city safe with the resources we have.
Understood. And other than my client, was there any other persons in that vehicle with you?
So yes, so there was two officers in the vehicle I were in, and your client was in the back, and Officer Kobe Ding was in the other vehicle chasing, and he was alone.
He was alone. Okay,
Correct.
Understood. Hang on, I'm just trying to think of how to phrase this question. Would you agree that my client being under arrest or in cuffs in the back of your vehicle take away his choice of willingly putting himself in danger in a chase and a shootout?
To a certain
Objection.
extent,
Leading the witness.
but I also believe
Yeah, it's sustained on that.
he put himself in that
You don't
situation
have to answer that
by.
question. The TT
Okay,
advise you to
all right,
remain silent
all
at this
good.
time.
Oh, good. Sorry.
Try reframing that question, Mr. Cook.
Yeah, I'm just thinking how to formulate it. Who's this? Yeah, okay. I'm struggling to try and rephrase that question at this point in time, Your Honor.
That's all right. Let's move on.
No, that's fine. My next question was going to lead on from that question, but I think I'll just end with when you say there was two officers in your vehicle with the suspect, was there a valid reason or a procedural reason why that car was not detached from the scene to take the suspect to the police station?
Because we were still dealing with the same situation. We were dealing with the same two criminals. They're partners in crime. So we're dealing with the same situation, and the scene wasn't over. We had a guy with a gun. We can't send one officer on his own chasing a guy with a gun because that isn't going to end well. So for our officers' safety, we kind of had to have more officers chasing down that suspect. We can't let a guy just walk free with a gun when he's pointing it at officers' heads.
Understood. So the vehicle that my client was sitting in, was that the first vehicle engaged in the shootout?
Objection. Grounds of speculation.
If the officer was there, then he should be able to answer that question. If he was not, then obviously he cannot.
Yes, we were the primary vehicle, and we were the vehicle that the suspect shot, and the suspect was well aware of the vehicle that his mate was in.
Understood. Just to clarify, you put my client in the back of that vehicle, correct?
Correct.
Okay, understood. No further questions, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Thank you, officer. You may step down and return to the gallery.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. Prosecution, do you have another witness you would like to call?
Not at this time, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Defense, if you have a witness, it is now time to call your first witness.
No witness, Your Honor.
No witnesses? All right, very good. All right, so we'll have final statements from the prosecution, please.
Your Honour, though my officer may have, also the officer may have put the suspect in the car, and though the suspect's life may have been put at risk, the events leading up to that they put their own lives at risk, Your Honour, by engaging in such of these activities. We're not arguing the basis of these grounds. We're literally arguing the state that the robbery did take place, Your Honour. That's all we're arguing today. The basis of the robbery was there, in prosecution's opinion. That'll be all.
All right, thank you. Defence, it is now your turn for closing statement.
Thank you, Your Honour. I just hope that this case can outline the need for a visit to the police policies and procedures, because there is an apparent loophole that does give them the ability to circumnavigate the constitutional right by protecting the safety of the city's citizens. Whether they are being convicted or not of any sort of crime, they should not be placed in a situation where, against their will, they have been entered into a police chase and a shootout with a known suspect with a gun. This is a very, very severe breach of my client's fundamental right, regardless of the fact he's committed a crime prior. And therefore, I think this case should definitely be taken into account to look at that constitution and to also look at the policies and procedures implemented by police and any loopholes that do govern the opportunity to breach those rights of a citizen. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, court is now going to be adjourned for 1 hour while I make my decision. Court's adjourned.
Thank you, Your Honour.
Thank you, Your Honour.
Thank you, Your Honour.
1 hour later.
Quote-unquote defendant walking around willy-nilly.
Bro, I can literally just walk out.
All right, let's get this case finished up, please, everyone. All right, we're going to reconvene this case of the state versus Mr. Posle. So, the facts of the case were outlined by the prosecution today, alongside the defence opening statement, which was, and I quote, "My client does not deny that he was involved." I do applaud the defence attempt to strike with information from the Constitution under Article 2, Power and Duties of Law Enforcement, Section 5, Item 1, with you arguing that the police were placing your client in the back of a vehicle after being detained for a crime. I do, however, would like to bring your attention to the same article, Section 2, where reasonable suspicion is explained alongside the entirety of Article 2, the fundamental rights of citizens. I'll be raising a request to Police Command about creating an SOP in regards to detaining and transporting suspects within a reasonable time frame. However, today, I do believe it was not unreasonable. I believe the testimony provided by the officer today, alongside your client's willingness to perform an act of crime to which I define the defendant guilty on all charges. He is to be remanded into custody and sent to prison at the earliest convenience with no reduction on time. Court is dismissed.